Hey, how y'all doing? Hey guys, you know who I am. I know who you are. Praise the Lord God Jesus. Hey, thank y'all for subbing. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you for all the personal emails, phone calls, text. I've even run into people in the streets that I had no idea that was even watching my videos. And I gotta say, I got a 90% or better response from all these people, which is just really fantastic. And they said, keep doing what you're doing. Now, of course, probably half of them said, I'm looking forward to your next audit. Well, depending on a few circumstances, anywhere from a week to 4 weeks, I should be out there doing some more audits. You know, God willing. In the meantime, I'll be doing some more videos. And for the people that's got the nano attentions of a gnat, and you admit to it, I try and be as fast and as quick as I can, but I'm me and I talk slow. And there are a lot of people that say, hey, some of these people talk too dang fast and I can't capture what they're saying, or they don't extrapolate so I can understand. Well, this is what I'm going to call cop latching. Okay, there's a term in legal world called latches. It talks about when latches takes effect, like on time limits for things. But this is not that. This is just a term I'm using, cop latching. Now, people talked about the police fishing, and years ago when they talked about police are fishing. I didn't just really get it for some reason. I understood the basic concept, but I didn't know more specifically what this saying. That, you know, if a man or a woman goes out and goes to a lake and they go fishing, then they're looking for whatever will bite on their bait. Okay? Well, police sitting on the side of the road, running radars, LiDAR, air-ground tracking, whatever method they're using to determine vehicle velocity and whatever the miles per hour is. Now, of course, if you go and look, every state's got different rules and regulations. But you got a nautical mile, you have an air mile, and you have a land mile. And then I think there's a statute mile, and there's a constitutional mile. This is the way I understand it. If there's something I'm wrong about, I'm willing to be educated and correct myself. I don't know everything, and I don't know nobody that does. However, police must make contact with a certain number of people on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis to, quote, stay in good standing with their department. Most places call it an activity report. So, you know, that could be checking a door to business, make sure it's secure. That could be an activity. Some departments say that's an activity. Some of them say it's collateral duty. So it depends on their classification. Even a tiny department can get 2,000 or 3,000, quote, case numbers or case activities a month by going through and checking 10 or 20 doors every morning, and during the night even a couple of times. They can get, you know, if you had 100 doors to check and you checked them twice during your shift, that'd be 200. 200 times 30 is what? You know, whatever it is. Every time you stop a car, every time you give somebody directions, every time they call the station and ask questions and you answer them, they could use that. But I want to talk about latches. Latches is a term I use, meaning latching onto, coupling, but I'm calling it latching for this. The police have to latch as many people as they can to have a eye-to-eye, face-to-face contact with somebody. They're taught that they must gain the ID of the man or woman that they talk to, in case they can maybe try and pin them to a crime. Say you was walking around down here today, and maybe they had never seen nobody walking in that area. Well, that's still not articulable reasonable suspicion. But anyway, let's just don't digress on that. Let's just stay on the point here. If they ask for your ID and say you're just a really obedient person, or you've been taught and trained, just do whatever the cops say, whether it's legal or not, just do it. And you go ahead and fork over your ID. So they write down, you know, you're Mr. Jones, this Mr. Damon Jones here, kind of dilly, and then say, oh, I don't know, 3 days later, somebody was hoodwinked, hijacked, stolen property that was within 500 or 1,000 foot of where they ID'd me. Then guess what? I become the #1 suspect in whatever that crime was, because I was in close proximity within 30 minutes to an hour of it happening. In fact, I might be a witness, but that ain't how they'd be looking at it. They're going to come talk to me and try and shake me down. They got to solve the crime, and they're going to pin it on me. So giving your ID isn't always the best thing to do. You'll have to look at your state laws and talk to a licensed attorney or become educated in the law. And according to some people, I'm a lawyer, including one bar card attorney says I'm a lawyer by extrapolation, because I'm learned in the law. Studying the law for 40 years ought to count for something. So, but that would actually be what I term a common law lawyer. Okay? I've never denied that I'm not a common law lawyer. I'm my own man, and I practice my own law for me. You know, but the difference in attorneys and lawyers have always been, lawyers were the common man that was at the common law, that understood the law and was learned in it, so he could help himself and help the community. An attorney is somebody that passed the state bar exam, and the Supreme Court of their state, or the Bar Association, or a combination, admitted them to practice law for hire, so they can be in commerce. Okay? Anyway, every time the police get your name, it goes into a database, whether it's a local, state, national database. And if you're stopped too many times and they was to term you a combatant, then you get a code that goes in computer that tells police you're combative. Combative may be you don't agree with what they say, so you're saying I don't agree. Well, they get butt hurt, ego damaged, a dented badge, so they retaliate by putting you down as combative. And some of them put down verbally combative. But either way, it means that you don't just do everything they say. And you're not required to do everything they say. Depends on if they're telling you something lawful. Police give unlawful orders all the time, but they're taught and trained to say, I'm giving you a lawful order. Well, maybe they are. And if they are and you don't, then you're in deep doo-doo. If they give you an unlawful order and you don't do it, you know, I would like to think and believe, of course it doesn't always work out that way, that a judge or judges will say, hey, this was an unlawful order. Therefore, everything beyond that is poisonous fruit of the tree, which means you can't use none of it. It all gets wiped out. And so that's what attorneys that take on clients work on a lot of time, is poisonous fruit. If you didn't have a legitimate, lawful contact with the person, then everything that happens thereafter is poison fruit of the poisonous tree. And there's a lot of Supreme Court cases on it. Now, some cops say if you don't have a driver's license, and according to the law, when you sign a contract with DHSMV or whatever it's called in your state, then you're agreeing to go by that state's rules and regulations on commerce. You're stating you are a driver and that you operate one or more vehicles. If you don't, you're not saying that you're anything other than a man, and you're just exercising your constitutional rights. But police that don't understand the Constitution, don't understand case histories, and they've been mistrained, either by accident or on purpose, by other cops that was mistrained, then they're going to say, oh, I'm not listening to your gobbledygook. Okay? Because to them, you're talking to them in a language they don't comprehend. You're talking Greek to them. They're supposed to know that, but they don't. And so they see you as the enemy instead of a man exercising his rights. So they try and latch on to you. And they run a lot of traffic. They run a lot of checkpoints under, quote, public safety, doing a driver's license check, vehicle inspection. That's all a thinly veiled ruse to make as many contacts. So it's actually a dragnet. And if they stop 1,000 people in a heavily traveled area, then they might get 5, 10, 15 people with a warrant. Okay? Let's just say they got 100 people on some kind of technicality, some violation of some rule, regulation, motor traffic vehicle code that's in commerce. But let's say they got something, okay? Here's the deal. They took 900 law-abiding constitutional men and women and subjected them to stopping them, questioning them, looking around, trying to see what they could see, and see if there's any kind of case they can make out of it. So we all were stopped and detained just because we were traveling in a certain geographic area. And then if you use your ancient Christian rights under customs and usage to avoid it, because you're taught not to be confrontational and to avoid confrontation, that's what they're doing. They're coming to your window with a gun to confront you over nothing. They have no reason to believe that you're wanted. They have no reason to believe that you're committing any violation. It's just a dragnet. And, just like those people that go fish for tuna, they drop out a big old dragnet, and sometimes they catch whales in there. Or sharks, and they're supposed to release them. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But it's just a big old dragnet. And so they catch up 90% or more innocent people to get 10% or less. The way I was trained in the 70s, it was better to let 100 guilty people go than subject one man or woman to wrongful police treatment and unconstitutional arrest and so forth. So we would let 100 guilty go to protect the one innocent man. Now it's the other way around. We will subject 100 people and violate 100 people to get the one guilty man or woman. And that's trained latching. Do you know from 1978 until 2011, you had cops that sometimes they made errors, they made mistakes, they're human beings, and they made mistakes. But they weren't trained to do that in that way for the most part. Yep, you always had a little clique here and a little clique there that was some bad people that happened to get badges and guns and be called cops that had no intelligence or discernment about them to even go catch wild animals out in the wild. I mean, they just had no business. They weren't trustworthy, they wasn't reliable, they had a lot of character and morality flaws, but they were just, a few here and there, here and there. 2001, they started training everybody. Look at everybody as a terrorist. Look at everybody as a suspect. Don't trust or believe nobody. Well, that's bound to create a hostile situation between police and cops. And let me tell you what, from the year of 2008, 2009, so we're talking the last 10 or 11 years, with thousands upon thousands of YouTube videos, body cams showing police lying and doing all this bad stuff, the public perception has dramatically changed. So that's why now TV stations and news departments are told by local police how to portray them as heroes. And there are police as heroes. I think a policeman that runs into a burning house, just like a fireman, to save an animal or a human being, whatever's in that house, that's a hero. I mean, he put his life on the line. people that's in cars that's on fire and firemen or policemen go run up there and dig them out, yeah, it's part of their job. But they could always say, you know, and they just couldn't get to them. But they didn't. They went and did that. Now, those cops are heroes. And if I run across one, I'll buy him a cup of coffee. I'll buy him a meal, him or her. Okay? If cops do things that are really heroic, not just doing their job, but really heroic and really putting their life on the line, and they're acting constitutionally, hell, I'd do anything for them. As well as any public servant that really goes up and above and beyond and really knows their job and really does it, I'll do it. But unfortunately, there's a lot of cops that are innocent. When I say they're innocent, they were trained wrong and they don't know no better. And since they said, well, these were attorneys or judges or state instructors, they must know. A lot of them were mistrained too, so it just follows. It's like a chain. You got an abusive father or mother, then the child learns the abusive behavior, then it goes to the next generation, just like alcoholics, drug addicts, so forth and so on. I'm a drug addict. I'm addicted to Jesus. You thought you had me, didn't you? Yep, I'm addicted to Jesus. And I'm a man. I make mistakes. I don't know no man that don't except Jesus, and he come and he's gone, but he's back. So I do the best I can. If you like me or you hate me, remember it's for the exact same reason. And right now, since I'm running 90% plus in a divided nation, I would really think that I'm really doing something pretty good. I love y'all. I ask God to bless you. And people keep asking me to do these videos about the Constitution. Why do police do what they do? And I'm going to come up with this video of how I think is the absolute best way to deal with police so that they go home safe and you go home safe. Okay? I'm going to try and teach you how to deal with a tyrant police officer or government official. I'm going to show you that there's a method to use. I'm going to teach you the limited police script that they're taught in the academies and police departments. I'm going to teach you how to flip the script. But do it in a lawful manner and a good and righteous manner. That way, on their body cam, if they have one, there's still probably 60% of the departments in the country that don't have them. Believe it or not, 2019, and it's probably that many. I could be wrong, but I know it's a high percentage. You know, departments that probably got communities of, I don't know, 10,000 and above, probably 90% of them have them. But if you're below 10,000, and that's numerous places, even some counties don't have that many, then they don't see the need for it. They mainly dealing with home folk, and they just keep doing the way they was doing 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, and they don't see the need for it. And it costs them anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 for a small apartment. That's a big part of their budget. Okay? So if you like me, you love me, you dislike me, you hate me, you think I'm right or wrong, it's for the exact same reason. And I accept that and I understand that. And I make mistakes. I tell you I make mistakes. But if I make a mistake and it's shown to me to be a mistake and I research or check it, I'll be happy to come here and say, hey, I made a mistake. I did something wrong. But people make false claims. They're either jealous of me, I did something that damaged their ego and they're narcissistic or a psychopath or something, and you can never satisfy these kind of people. So they make outrageous claims. And other people don't do no research. They just latch on to what they heard. So they're doing latching like police. They just grab onto something and they propagate the propaganda that the originator started. And they don't never check into things. So they get involved in slander and libel just like the original people. And some people said, well, I just said what I heard. I actually had a group of people tell me face to face that, well, I was against you at first, and I said this because it's what I heard. And I said, did you ever go do any research? No. Well, there you are. There you are. So when you rely on somebody else's information, maybe you ought to go check it out and see if there's actually a record, positive or negative. But remember this, a lot of actual events are on no document. There's no record of it. But it happened just as big as day. You know, I can stand on a stack of Bibles and aver or attest to many things that's not on a record that I seen, but it wasn't up to me to make the record. It was up to somebody else, and they didn't make a record. But it happened. And I've testified in court to things that wasn't on a record. But it become on a record because I testified to it. Or another policeman or a citizen, somebody testified, and they said, we didn't have no record of that. Doesn't mean it happened. How many people called a cell phone company and said this, and this, and they said, well, we don't have a record of it, but you know it's a fact because it personally happened to you. And they say, well, if it's not on record, it didn't happen. You're like, you're a liar. You don't have first-hand personal knowledge. You're at a call center somewhere, and it's what's on a screen. But it's me, and it's my phone, and I know exactly what happened. And I'm testifying to you that this is what happened. Well, since we don't have a record on it, so not having a record doesn't mean it's not so. It just means there's not a record. And sometimes there is a record, but it's not where it would normally be. Or somebody thinks that it's normally here, but it's somewhere else. But it exists. So there's misplaced records or misfiled records too. So before you go accusing people of things, it would be really good to ask them and see if they're willing to talk to you. But on the other hand, if you've abused them, mischaracterized them, lied on them, defamed them and so forth, you can't go back and say, hey, can we shake hands and be friends now? No, because there's no trust. No, trust is earned over a period of time, you know. Well, thank you. God bless you. That's the left-hand salute to the strange, usual, and bizarre people. There's a right-handed salute to good cops, good military officials, good government officials. Thank you. God bless you and have a great day. And I'll be doing some more teaching videos to help. That's my commission. That's my command, to teach and help people. That's why I do it. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.